and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
If there's any questions on internet or phone access, please refer to the agenda. This meeting is now called to order. I will now take a roll call of the committee members. Members, please respond by saying here, and if you are alone at your off-site location. Robert Gregg, here. Evan Fong.
Here, I'm alone.
Mark Baker, here. Alan Martin.
Here.
Okay, we have quorum, and I'll call this meeting to order. It is 1:12 p.m. Yeah. Item 2, judiciary matters. Is there anyone who would like to provide oral testimony on this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. There's someone who doesn't provide public testimony.
Hearing none, I call for a recess to discuss this adjudicatory matter.
What was that?
Next on the agenda is the chairperson's report. Is there anyone who would like to provide oral testimony on this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. So, President Craig, public testimony.
Okay. First item is Mark Imani, business representative for Local 126 Elevator Constructors Union. Determination of mechanic shortage for temporary permit or elevator mechanic. I think we wanted to know what the DCCA views as a mechanic shortage.
First of all, in this case, there's nothing specific technically on the HRS, but on the rule, administrative rule, it does say, it does specifically mention that. And so that one specifically says that a temporary permit may be issued only where there is a shortage of licensed elevator mechanics in this state. That's basically what it says. And then a temporary license may be issued for 3 months. And another 3 months after that. So 2 consecutive 3 months. After that, temporary permit is done. That's it. It's coming from the administrative rule, not from the Hawaii revised statute. So it's your rule, it's your board's rule, not the Hawaii revised statute.
What? Oh, you got a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
How is that shortage determined?
The boards, how,
Yeah.
so.
How do you determine there's?
Is that your question? Because your name was submitted to be as a, Mr. Parsha.
So I'm asking,
Okay.
how do you determine if there's a shortage?
Normally, we would check with the Department of Labor, both federal and state, to see if there's any reports. But other than that, we would consult with the board through chair, basically. But there's no specific guideline from the Hawaii revised statute stating what is considered to be shortage. It just says that there should be, well, the only time we can issue a temporary license is if there is a shortage, but that shortage is through the administrative rule, not the Hawaii revised statute.
I understand that.
Mhm.
So did the Department of Labor come back? Did anybody reach out to the board members to see if there was a shortage? When regarding Peter Esquero.
Okay, so you had a specific person in mind.
Yes.
Okay. So that one for, can you mention the name? I'm sorry, you mentioned, the person that you were referring to, okay, that one was actually approved, the first permit.
Initially, he was denied, from what I was told, from what I understood.
We were waiting for the board to meet first of all, so we can consult with the board. But we did not have a quorum because we technically had 3 members. We need 4. The problem with that is eventually the governor did appointed an interim person to be the number 4. And that's why we were trying to schedule. Now, the governor appointed 2 more, and the Senate confirmed them. However, those terms do not start till July 1st. That's the reason why.
But what does that have to do with determining whether there's a shortage or not? Just so everybody understands. There's one non-union worker in the state of Hawaii, one. I represent the other 260.
Okay,
No one contacted me to see if there was a shortage, which obviously there was, because that's why we had to bring Peter Esquero in from the mainland in order to work on the Big Island.
okay.
So if I wasn't notified, and I know the business of the trade in the entire state, then you could have reached out to one of them and they could have reached out to me, but that did not happen. He was just denied flat out.
Okay. Well, first of all, to answer your question, when there is a temporary license application, they do not come to me directly. It goes to the licensing branch. And the licensing branch is separate from us. And basically, they just look at that and say, okay, so if it requires a board approval, which it would go through us, then they would forward it to us. However, because there was no board meeting per se, because we lacked quorum, we did not have that request. That's why originally it was denied, because I did not deny it. it was denied from the licensing branch. But we were waiting for that number four person to have a quorum in order for any request to be considered. Yes.
But isn't the board the one that denies the application?
Yes. But that, not just for this board, but for other boards, what happened is the licensing branch is giving an instruction saying that if there's no, and again, they don't come to us and knock on the door and say, we have a temporary license for this board. Basically, what they look at is, unless they're notified that there is a shortage, the licensing branch will just look at the application and say, oh, this is for temporary permit. And they didn't notify the board, well, me per se, but then they'd say, well, there was nothing noting that there is a shortage for the licensing of temporary permit for the elevator. So they say it's denied. And eventually it got to me, and that's when I did check eventually, but the rule does not say to check with the union.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's the reason why. And I did check the previous minutes. It does not, there's nothing I could find saying that the EO, executive officer, consults the union. It just says shortage. And when I reached out with the executive supervising person at that time, the answer was Department of Labor. And that's why we had to, because the rule does not specifically say, check with the union. And now I know, and if that's the case, we will do that in the future, that you represent all the union members, and except one. But
This is elevator mechanics, yes.
yeah, so that's but yeah, that's the reason why I was denied, because again, it technically did not come through me directly, because again, most of the license applications, they don't come to the board, like the elevator board, they go to the licensing branch. They review the application first, and if there's nothing in there that says group team, we have a shortage in elevator mechanics. If there's an application, go ahead and process it. So basically, they don't process unless they're told to do so. I did not know there was an application, because applications, not just elevator mechanic, but they have to be tagged executive officer, or E1 we call it, before we actually see it. So during that time, I don't have the application.
So this could happen again then. If someone brings in a temporary permit,
And so with that,
an application for it.
we could then notify the licensing branch that if there is someone applying for a temporary permit for the elevator mechanic board, to let us know. Because again, we don't know. They don't send applications to us directly. It stays with them, the licensing branch. Not blaming anyone. It's just that's what it is.
So whoever receives the application, if it's an EVM or temporary permit for an EVM,
Then they should, I will ask them.
they'll forward it to
Yes,
you?
that's the procedure that we will take from now on, because again, we did not have that. I did check the minutes. There was no standard on, like I said, to check. No union mention, nothing on the previous minutes. And because of that, I was waiting for the board.
You can reach out to any of the industry members who serve on the board also, they would have an idea.
So, but yeah.
They can reach out to me,
Sure.
or you can reach out to me directly.
Sure. And again, that's only if I know that there is an application, but if I don't know there's an application, yeah. So the board will notify the licensing branch, and if there is one, we will try to follow that procedure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next item is the categories or areas of elevator mechanics examination.
Tony, I'm gonna pass that on to, this is David Gruppen. He is in charge of all the tests for all the programs and divisions for the DCCA, like just elevator mechanic, but all the programs and the boards. So he is.
I got a question. Are you a representative of PSI?
I'm not.
We're not, okay.
Unfortunately,
Usually
we were,
ask for representation from PSI to get this board meeting, and I have not been able to get them here yet.
It's Juneteenth and nobody at PSI is working today, so they couldn't make it to the meeting.
Well, I mean, this is not the first meeting I've asked them to be at, though. That's the thing. So, Yeah, this has been ongoing, so excuse my frustration with that, but that's just, I've asked many times for PSI to be here since they got the contract to do
And I
that.
think going back to lack of quorum, et cetera, we haven't been able to get that going.
This is
And I
before we
think
even
this
lost a
is-
quorum.
Oh.
Just for the record though, this is my second meeting for this board.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything prior to
So I
that.
wasn't here yet.
I mean, yeah, I've
Sorry
asked.
about that. So what I'd like to do is I would like to set up an exam review between, a couple of people from the board, a couple of people from the industry, and you guys can go through each question of the examination. And, that way you'll know kind of what's going on with the exam. They'll be able to tell you how each question on the exam performs. If it doesn't perform to a certain standard, either too many people get it right or too many people get it wrong, they rethink the question, rewrite it, and then throw it back into the testing pool to see how that question performs. So that's what I'd like to recommend.
And just to help, in that line, the previous test provider, they no longer provide tests for elevator mechanic, and that's the reason why we cannot use them anymore. So
Is that because they don't have the contract for the testing anymore?
No, they canceled all their trade exams.
Because they still provide exams for our apprentices to become a mechanic through the union
They
or
sent
education
us-
program.
They sent us notification that they were canceling all of the exams. That's why we made the switch to PSI, because once we got notified of that that's what was going on, we put out an RFP. PSI was the only one who put in a bid.
So can we ask Prometrics to supply the questions that were given to them for the test?
I'm hesitant to do that, and it's for this reason. A lot of those questions are old, right? And what we've noticed from other industries is that they were having their members collect questions, and then they were creating test guides directing them towards the right answers to those questions. And so because the Prometric questions are so old and have not, really have not been changed in quite a while, I wouldn't recommend going that route.
Well, my only issue is because PSI test was never approved by the board.
Mhm.
We don't know what's on that test. I'd rather know what's on the test, that way it's already been approved, give that exam, but we continue working on giving new question, making a new test. And once the board comes up with a new test, then we can provide that question to PSI and have those tests given at that point. Because it's the board already approved the ones that Prometrics has, not PSI. Yes.
So going back to Prometrics, I understand that situation where the test is out for so long that the questions are out in the public. So in order to address that situation, we sat down with Prometrics and over the course of 1 year, we rewrote the exam with our input. And then that was maybe about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. So that's to reflect the codes that are relevant for the state of Hawaii, mostly.
What? And I've been running this question through my head is, how would the codes be different for Hawaii than they would be for the mainland?
Because every state adopts a certain year of the code. So Hawaii is on 2010.
Okay.
There are other jurisdictions that are on 2021, 2013, 2014. Yeah, so every jurisdiction is different. Yeah.
The questions that were written, let's say 6 years ago, are based on the 2010 code.
Because that's what the state uses. That's what it's adopted.
Still today?
Yes.
And Chair, just one thing I'll note, just since we're on this discussion, and if you have specific questions, it might be more appropriate for executive session, but just broadly, under our laws, I think the minimum that it's stated, and it's under 448H-5 is that the board may prescribe at a minimum that a nationally recognized examination be used, and then I think it would be augmented with locally developed materials. So I think at the minimum, it needs to be, I guess, some kind of nationally recognized examination. However, any form of whatever the test is, it should be approved by the board, because the board has the discretion to, I think, review it and to understand it, to approve it. But what's stated in the law is that it has to be at minimum nationally recognized examination. And I guess that might depend, I guess, on how the board interprets that, but that's the minimum standard that's stated in law. So I just wanted to note that as we discuss this.
I think I understand that, but the part of the issue is if PSI is giving questions that are 2022 code relevant, because that's the newest code that's out now. 2022. If they're asking questions that are relevant to 2022, that doesn't apply to the 2010 code, guys will not get those questions right, because we don't do 2022 code. You know, it's very rare for a job to be 2022 unless you're on a federal property. They might do 2022. So that's the issue that we're having.
So then what we'll still have to do, I think it's still in the best interest to have the item writing exercise. The board, participates, I think rewrites the questions. We change it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem.
And see, the problem with I'm sorry to interrupt with you. The problem with the Prometric thing is I don't have the questions. Prometric has the questions. And the contracts were written so poorly that we didn't get any materials back from them. They never gave us any database of questions because they weren't required to by the contract.
Okay, well. Okay,
Question.
yes,
So when we go over this, like the question reviews, each of those questions will have a reference as to what code it's citing, like whether it's 2018 IBC or some other version of NEC, or whether it's ASME 17.1. We'll have those references tagged to each question that we review. That way we're aware of which code you're citing. Like Koi is under 2018 IBC, but that's not the most current, so you can't test on anything newer than that. So same thing, right? Just because our elevator code is on 2010, that's still the limit we can test on. We can't test on anything newer than that. Like if you're asking guys about EOE, elevators, they're not going to know what that is because we don't install that here. We don't have emergency occupant evacuation procedures for that. So just that kind of stuff. As long as we have some kind of citing on the reference of what the question is pulled from, then it'd be easier. Because I've had guys ask like, they mentioned like, yeah, the test was something about lulas. As far as I'm aware, like the state of Hawaii doesn't really test on lulas. So I don't know why they're being asked questions on lulas. So I think, just the feedback from everyone saying like what's on the test is like, I don't know why they're teaching you this or testing you on this stuff, because it doesn't make sense. We don't work on that.
And this is the perfect opportunity to get rid of that. By going through the item writing with them and looking at each individual question that they're asking, because you're correct. They will cite exactly where the question is coming from. And if the committee said that doesn't apply to us, we can throw that question out. Now, at the same time, they might ask us to rewrite another question to, keep the item bank up, right?
Okay.
yeah. Okay, I mean, yeah, well, I guess that's what we'll have to do then, and I have no problem being part of that helping to rewrite those questions either,
Yeah, so PSI's ready, unfortunately today was not the day, but I have talked to their director of operations and they're waiting to hear when we want to schedule something, and they'll make something happen.
Yeah.
So for that, they're looking for somebody in the industry who's interested or who have the time to go in two half days or one full day. So if any,
Unless it takes more time, you know, sometimes it takes more time if you want to spend more time.
It'll probably take some time.
Yeah. If you want 2 full days, we'll tell them that's what we want.
Because Mark, do you remember how long it took you guys last time to rewrite the questions? How many hours you spent?
There are multiple sessions over the course probably of 8 to 9 months. We just met multiple times and then we would work on our own in between meeting with Prometrics. So we do a lot of our own homework prior and then sit down with Prometrics, push out questions and then end that and reconvene later and do homework in between meeting with Prometrics.
And that's probably what we're gonna have to do as well. Because depending on how many questions you guys decide are not appropriate, then we're gonna send you guys back and say, we need this many questions, and then we'll sit down and meet again. And we'll, you know, the group will decide, hey, this is appropriate for an entry level or not. And then it'll go through a testing phase to make sure that it performs the way that it should, et cetera. So that's exactly what's gonna happen again.
Okay. Okay. Is that something that we need to say right now? How many, like, whether we want 2 half days or 1 full day or something like that right now?
but you can let us know like as
Yeah, this doesn't have to be an official,
Okay.
I mean, unless you want them to set up a pig or.
So I think there's a couple considerations, like depending on how many members I guess you want to sit on this. If it's more than 2, then you'd have to like set up what's called a permitted interaction group. And that follows a very like formula. It's a structure of like you would at this meeting you would form it, you would name the 3 members and you define their roles and what they're supposed to be doing. That allows you 3 to meet up for the specific purpose of, in this case, I guess, reviewing the exam questions and formulating that. And then at the second meeting, you would present your findings to the board. And you know, everything that you want them to adopt, your recommendation, but then you can't vote on it at that meeting. It has to be a 3rd meeting. So that's if you want more than 3 members. If it's 1 or 2, then
okay.
for Sunshine, you could do it, but I would still, yeah, you could have the 2 members work it out, get this all done, and then when you're done, just come back and present to the board to present then. Those are, I guess, kind of some of your options.
That's how we've traditionally done it. So
Okay.
that we didn't have to go through the pig process. So 2 board members, and then you guys can agree on how many SMEs you want to pull in.
Okay.
and again, this is just to make sure that we are in compliance as a board. So
So you can decide on that, I guess, as early as today, whether or not you want to form a pig if you want more than 2 members, or if you're going to say 2, then you can just agree that, okay, I chair or, you know, whoever will be in, and we'll report back at whenever we can at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The next meeting is scheduled for July already, right?
July 24th is the official one, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'll do it, and I'll know if Evan would want to do it as well.
Yeah, I'm good.
Keep it at 2, then we'll keep it at 2.
So, yeah, just when you guys give me some dates that you think you might want to work together on this, and then I'll put that out to PSI and try to set somebody up to be available.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding exams?
Any question for him? He's the one that again coordinates all the testing, not just us, but all the building programs for the DCCA.
So he will also be on the automatically the EO is kind of the SME of the state, right? So he'll participate as well.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on to a review of elevator mechanics licensing board laws and regulations. I guess we'll start with HRS 448H.
If you guys
So,
wanted to have more time, you can, because the next one is actually July 24th, 4 weeks from now. If you guys needed more time to just review them, that's fine too.
okay, just review and then come back with, things that we want to see change. 'Cause-
Yeah, because then at least that way you spend more time, you'll have 4 weeks to go through it. If you, it's up to you guys, but that would be the purpose. Since it's the July 24th is already scheduled anyway, as the next one, so it's up to you guys.
Okay. Yes, Mark.
The one thing that really needs to be corrected is the 4 years.
Yeah, so we did discuss that earlier and, yeah, we will get that, done.
And I'll just quickly note, when you're reviewing the laws and rules, the difference is the laws, right? They can only be changed by the legislature. So if the board had a position on it, maybe you would discuss it, and then that's just something that we could present to the legislature, or some stakeholder would have to introduce that in the form of a bill, and then the board can comment on that. And then whereas the rules are within your purview, and you can, if you'd like, initiate rulemaking, the rulemaking process to change, repeal, or do anything that you believe is appropriate.
And that would be, all be done in-house.
Yes, or it's done in-house. It's an extensive process that typically takes like at least a year or so, but that's controlled by the board, whereas the laws are within the purview of the
Right,
legislature.
and actually, if for the other boards, it's actually faster, since you have a union that can be presented to the legislature, because let's say that 2027 starts 6 months from now, and the governor signs off on it on May 2027, July 1st, it's effective. The rule will take probably 2 to 3 years to even be implemented, because it eventually it ends up with the governor again, but it'll take a longer time to update, to change that 4 year in the HAR than going through the Hawaii revised statute, because again, if the governor signs off on it, it is the law, and normally it's effective that July 1st that year. While
So what we just decided will stand the 4 years.
So I think to that point, the law already reflects 4 years. The rule needs to be changed
Okay,
to.
yeah.
So either way, rule change would meeting.
Yeah, but that's because I know Mark mentioned about that has to be changed, but yes, but at the same time, that will take it's not gonna happen, even if you decide today, it's not gonna happen today. It's not gonna happen next year. It's not gonna happen probably in 2 years, just based on experience. But we know the HRS, it does say 4 years, and that's the one that we need to follow. So we have to follow that, yeah. But if you wanted to just, since the July 24th was already scheduled previously anyway, and if you wanted to just have the time to, so at least by the time we meet next time, you have all the recommendation based on the copy that you have. I think that's good. You have time to review it. But it's up to you guys.
So actually, what is the process then for changing the rule? Other than having 3 readings?
The rules. Okay, once you get decide, then normally the executive officer has to submit a change to the administrator. Then the administrator has to submit it to the director of the DCCA. It goes through the whole process, but it goes to a hearing, and eventually it ends up again to the governor's office. But by that time, it's probably about 3-4 years. That's how the process is. I mean, we can get the approval from the administrator and the director right away. Well, when I say right away, within months. But then there's a process of going to the whole circle again. Because there's a certain policies that we have to go through. It's not just us requesting. So even though the administrator and the director may have approved it, it does eventually have to go the whole process and eventually end up with the governor's office for his signature.
3 to 4 years?
I don't want to say 1 year, because it's not going to happen in 1 year. 2 years, good. But there are programs and boards that have gone through sometimes 3 years. I'm just giving you a rough time so that I don't want you to come back and say, well, you said 1 year. It's not going to happen in 1 year.
Well, you're gonna have to make promises, but
Yeah.
that's unacceptable.
That's so again, they have to go to a hearing. I mean, they have to go to a public hearing and things like that, yeah.
Right, three readings, right? 3 public hearings.
But that's after we go to a certain process, yes. Yeah. So that's why it takes a long time. But that's why I don't want to say 1 year, it's
No, I-
okay, but
I don't disagree because I've
That's
been
fine.
involved with HAR being updated in the past.
that's good.
It's never taken,
Okay.
hasn't even taken a year.
Okay, well, that's good. Then we'll start the process. But like I said, I just don't want to say that I'll take this time this fast. Because we have
And the question is, the HAR needs to align with the HRS.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't see why it would be a problem just updating the number 2 to a number 4.
Still has to go to the hearing process.
I understand that.
But I don't control the hearing process. I mean, again, the only thing that I can control is getting the signature from the administrator, which, we have done. And then the administrator, not me, administrator then gets the approval from the director. Then the director has to do on her part, we don't dictate, but there's a process that the director has to go through. If that process is faster, that's good. I agree. I mean, I wish it could be fast. I just don't want you to think that it's faster than the HRS, that's all. Based on the other programs and boards that I have set in.
What happens if somebody contests it again,
That's what,
like Wawasa?
oh, that's
That's different.
That's different. This is just like a hearing for public hearing, I mean, for rule changes, yeah, so, the purpose of the hearing is just to hear from the public and their input on the proposed changes. It's not necessarily adversarial or.
Just to get your input.
And there's nothing that the board can do, recommend to try and move it through faster, because again, like Mark said, it's just a number change from 2 years to 4 years.
Because
That's the
the
biggest thing.
the letter that we would send to the administrator is the one that say the board recommends changing this to, and then we would give them highlights of the rule. And then they say, oh, I sign off on it. And then when that's done, then the administrator makes that same recommendation to the director. And then the director says, okay, everything else is between the director, public hearing, governor. So that part is no longer the board's control. I mean, because the reason why we're changing is because the board agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so.
So are the meetings, are the hearings gonna be consecutive hearings? Or they could be 1 month and then 3 months later, the second hearing? Is it just random? How do the hearings or?
We have, but I'll check on that one, but just to make sure that the first steps for us is to get the approval from the administrator and the director. That's the first step, and then everything else, we have to follow, but the fact that we would recommend to the administrator just shows that the board wants to change the rule, because that's the reason why we would make that recommendation. We wouldn't recommend it without your input from it, yeah, so.
I think, yeah, we'll come back on the next meeting then.
Sure.
Chris. If we were to do this now, it's still gonna go through the whole process, and if there's anything that we wanna change on top of that, then.
The reason why it's better too is because let's pretend that you say, okay, the next week you make another change. Once we submit that request, it'll take, let's say one year. Then another, I decided to do this. We have to wait for that first request to be approved before we can make that additional request. And so it just takes longer. That's what I'm saying. So if you guys have all one time, that's fine, because it's long time anyway. Then they will do it all one time, as opposed to we have to wait for the approval for the first one. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Is there anyone who would like to provide oral testimony on this agenda item? Seeing none, I, Robert Gregg, move to approve the minutes of the June 16, 2025 meeting. I need a second by saying your name, and I second the motion. Is there any discussion from the members?
I, Alan Martin, second the motion.
Good. If none, I call for a vote. I'll take a vote by roll call. Members, please say yes or no. Robert Gregg, yes. Evan Fong,
Yes.
Mark Baker,
Yes.
and Alan Martin.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, okay, we don't need to go to executive session now, right?
No, executive report.
Yeah, just, okay. Next is the, or is there anyone? You gotta provide for the,
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. is there anyone who would like to provide oral testimony on this next agenda item, the executive officer's report?
Thank you, Chair. No public testimony.
Okay.
Okay, so for the ethics training, basically, most of you have taken the ethics. It's required 4 years, every 4 years. After 4 years, you have to retake it again. Then next month, of course, we'll have new members. Those members will have to take that ethics training good for 4 years. Renewals, we started the renewal process for elevator mechanic and the trainees May 4th. And it will end June 30, 2026, basically. So if you have your renewal, make sure that you go to the process. See, that one, Mr. David Gruppen already mentioned that. Basically, that's the content. Right now, the current content of the PSI test. Installation, there's 21 questions. Maintenance, there's 31 questions. Safety, there's 25 questions. And the code requirements, 23 questions. But it ties into the next one, and David Griffin already talked about that. PSI is asking industry members to so that they can spend at least maybe 2 half days or 1 full day so they can review the test itself. Okay, and as the Dag mentioned earlier, as long as it's not 3, then we don't have to go the process of the pay. But just let us know so we can. Well, I can relate it to David, who will contact PSI. I'm not the contact of PSI. David is the one. He will check with them and say, well, these 2 members will be checking in with them, PSI, for the dates and times for the, to review the test, basically. Yeah. But other than that, I'm good. That's all from on my part.
Next item is licensing applications. I, Robert Gregg, move to enter into executive session to discuss the applications. I need a second by saying your name, and I second the motion.
Alan Martin, second the motion.
Okay.
Need a vote, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Moving to seconded to move into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Okay.
Nobody there.
You can just leave the door like a doors back there.
We are back to the open session. Is there anyone that would like to provide oral testimony on this agenda item?
Thank you for your help this morning.
I need someone to move to approve the applications for, do I say all the names? Okay. For Peter Anthony Escuro, James Scott Hiroshimasu, Mason Kalantak, and Adam Nicholson. Yeah. Is there a motion? For elevator? For the mechanics license.
I know.
I'll move
one
to
that we-
approve. Evan Fong.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. We vote on Keiko's ones, right? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to deny Keiko Watanabe's application due to lack of verification.
I'll move to deny Evan Fong.
Thank you. Is there a second?
That's to reject the application due to what we just talked about.
What was that?
That we're rejecting it due to what we just talked about. Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any nays? Guys. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the applications for elevator mechanic apprentice for Kainalu Gasper, Riley Shigeoka, Ryan Eno Santiago, Fendal, Neil Marugame, Jesse Milo Davis, Aaron Joshua Pang, and Ryan Vargas.
I'll move to accept Evan Fong.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded to accept elevator mechanic apprentice applications. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Next item is the ratification list. I need someone to move to approve the ratification list. We have for EVM, we have Samuel Di Gregorio, Lawrence Tavares, Justin Agbayani. And for elevator mechanic apprentice, we have Maui Lee, Jason Austin, Thomas Cahill, Brenda Dye, Ryan Wall, Kurt Okuneku, Scott Lee, Clinton Winham, Ezekiel Vega, and Noah Felipe. And for a temporary permit, we have Peter Anthony Escuro.
Our numbers.
All those guys, yeah.
I'll move to accept the ratification list. Evan Fong.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving in second to accept the ratification list. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Okay, next on the agenda is the delegation of authority. This is for, in case we can't meet, we have someone that can
Second
actually.
per permit, yeah.
Yeah, I need someone to move to approve the delegation of authority to an industry member to approve a temporary permit. Do we have to get like who we want to have do it or?
I think it'd be appropriate if you name the
Name?
person. Yeah.
Okay. Can I do that?
That's fine.
Well, can I name somebody? Okay. I'm gonna ask Evan if he'd be willing to do that.
I accept.
So need someone to move to approve Evan to approve temporary permits. He's already authorized to do the other applications, and so it just
Make
makes
a
sense
motion
to.
to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize, or approve Evan to be approved temporary permits. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Okay. And next meeting.
Oh, hold on. So this is not in the agenda. However, I believe this is Mark's last, June 30th is Mark's last, 8 years term. So we will be sending some, Mark Baker will be, Mark's his 8 year. So we really thank your helping us, and we will be sending you a signed certification from the director for having those for 8 years that you served with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Your term expires June 30th of this year, 2026. Yeah. So,
Okay,
thank you.
Should I get a service bonus pay?
I'll take you to lunch one day.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I think I got the certificate.
okay.
Email it already. Okay, thank you so much.
So next meeting is July 24th, 2026. I'm assuming it's at 1 p.m.
Yes,
here?
yes.
Okay. And that's it. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you
you.
for 8 years. Not that many people. 8 years.